As a daughter, she's the light of the house. As a wife, she completes half of her iman. As a mother, Jannah lies under her feet. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am Bibi Aisha Leher, presenter and producer of the show Phenomenal Woman, every Thursday between 1:30 and 2:30 right here on IFM 88.3. Tune in to be inspired, educated, motivated and empowered on issues affecting the lives of women. When women stand together, amazing things happen.
Extraordinary, Allah has blessed me. Live forever, not temporary.
Live from Port Elizabeth, South Africa, to the world, this is IFM.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. You are tuned into the Phenomenal Woman show with me, Bibi Aisha Leher, here on IFM 88.3. I'm so excited today because I'm going to be interviewing two such amazing people who are making a difference in two such different ways, but alhamdulillah, something that will be beneficial to all of us. So I'm going to just get right into it. I'm going to start with the first interview, which is with a very young and beautiful young lady called Jasmine Khan, who I fondly refer to as Auntie Jasmine Khan. She's based in Cape Town, and this is one lady who is so inspiring, so amazing, and can you believe she's an author of so many books? And before we say anything to Auntie Jasmine Khan, we're going to make salam with her. And she's going to tell you how young she is. Because I don't believe anyone is, when we normally address people, we always say, how old are you? No, you're not old. You're only as old or as young as you feel. So, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Beautiful young Auntie Jasmine Khan. And welcome to Phenomenal Woman.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi, Bibi Aisha.
And how young are you? Just please let all our listeners know how young you are.
I am 81 years young. I had a birthday last Wednesday.
Years young. Yes. Subhanallah, belated happy birthday. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you with many more happier, healthier birthdays. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you even more knowledge, wisdom and understanding to continue writing the most beautiful, beautiful books that you do to educate, empower, inspire, and motivate Muslims and people who are not Muslims around the world. Because when a person who is not Muslim and they pick up your book, they want to know more about Islam. And I've had the pleasure of meeting you when you were in Johannesburg a few years ago. I had the pleasure of touring with you and interviewing you on my other show on Radio Islam. And mashallah, when I am in your company, I just look at you and I say, Auntie Jasmine, when I grow up, I want to be you.
Inshallah.
Ameen. Long way to go still. So my beautiful Auntie Jasmine, how old were you? Sorry, my apologies. How young were you when you first started writing?
Okay, I was very young. I've been writing practically all my life. Since I was a child, when I was a teenager. In my 20s, I stopped when I got married and raised my children. Mm-hmm. And then I started writing again in the 90s. And I won a short story competition. And I had 2 articles published by mainstream magazines. That was in 1991, I think. And then there was kind of the hiatus, things happened in my life and so on. And I published my first book at the age of 69.
Mashallah. You are the living example of there's no such thing like it's too late. It's never too late.
No, of course not. While you are breathing and you open your eyes in the morning and you take your first breath of oxygen, so beautifully provided by our Creator, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we say, Alhamdulillah, for another day. There is hope and there is time to do things. So,
Shukr, alhamdulillah. Now, before you have actually published your first book, Auntie Jasmine, you said you used to write short stories and you were writing since you were a very young lady. What were you writing about?
Basically, just things that happened in my life and observations and stuff, So I'm actually sorry that I destroyed all those writings because they were all handwritten, in longhand before typewriters and computers. I always had a problem with typing. By the way, when I won the short story competition, I got an electric typewriter.
Mashallah.
Yeah.
Mashallah.
But unfortunately, I had to sell it, and things happened in my life at the time. I needed the money, and it was 1,000 rand plus the electric typewriter.
No.
That was in 1991. And then I stopped. And in 2004, something happened to me. I called it an epiphany. And I started I did some reading on this whole thing about being in the present moment. And, the whole world was talking about this, the secret and, all this kind of thing. And I realized that this is the message of Islam. It's just that these people don't use the word God or creator or anything. They talk about the universe,
Yes.
So that kind of spurred me on to write something which I call Positive Energy Guide. And even that lay on my computer for about 5 years until in 2010 I decided that this thing has been gestating long enough. It's time to call in the midwife. And then I rewrote it. It was obviously 5 years had passed. I'd learned and grown. And that became Experience the Flow, which I published that year. And I launched it on the 10th of Muharram that year, 2010. It happened to be the 16th of December.
Mashallah.
I didn't have any money to pay to publish the book. I mean, it was
So what did you do?
People asked me, how are you going to publish? I said, Allah will open the way. And Allah did open the way. I knew somebody who did design and layout, because from the time when I worked for a publishing company. And he was prepared to do it for me and kind of do it now, pay later. He also got me a printer who was prepared to do it. So I launched on the 16th of December, alhamdulillah. By the end of January, 6 weeks later, I could pay the printer. And 4 weeks later, I paid this guy. And then the rest is history. So, yeah.
SubhanAllah. But I think that also, brings me to what I want to say now. I mean, my life motto is dua, sabr, shukr, tawakkul. And I remember that one Friday afternoon, I just have to share this with our listeners. I remember we were introduced by Munira Karim, who is the founder of Neural events in Johannesburg. And when she knew that you were coming, to Johannesburg to promote your book, The Moon is Sighted, which we're going to talk about just now, she actually gave me a call and she says, Bibi Aisha, for me, what is very important when somebody needs to interview somebody, the two people need to resonate, because that's when you feel chemistry. And she said, Bibi Aisha, you and Auntie Jasmine are a perfect fit. And, if Munira couldn't be more correct, because when the two of us met each other, I looked at you and I'm like, I know you. And you're like, I know you too. And, it's like we knew each other for years. We hit it off so well. And I have to share with our listeners, myself, you and Auntie Najmun, your very close friend, we needed to go to the VAL to see Auntie Hawa Patel, who is the chairperson of the VAL South African Muslim Women's Forum, the VAL Women's League. And I remember she invited you over to talk about your book. And Madam Bibi Aisha wants to sound clever. And I said, no, I know an easier way from Lens to go to Roshni. And I think we took a couple of turns wrong, and we landed up in a whole lot of locations and a whole lot of different places
I know.
I remember we went on an adventure. But Auntie Jasmine, you are going to agree with me that there's no such thing as coincidence or luck in Islam. Allah Pak wanted me to spend more time with you and Auntie Najmun, because there's so many things that the two of you beautiful young ladies shared with me that has helped me to be
where I am today. You reminded me the importance of salah. You reminded me the importance of dua. You reminded me that if you do anything for Allah's pleasure alone, Allah will open doors for you. You also reminded me that not everyone that you smile at is your friend. Be very, very wary of who is your friend, who is your acquaintance, and who genuinely wants good for you. And you think I forgot. You see, I listened. And when we finally got to the ball, to the Roshni, we had the time of our life and we had the most lekker biscuits and tea, remember?
Yes, I do remember very well.
Yes. And then I was very spoiled because I got to spend 3 days with you in a row, which I was very, very delighted to do. So it was the Friday in Roshni. It was on the Saturday when you were a guest on my show, Youth Talk, where we spoke about the moon is sighted, where we speak about Rajab and Shaban in preparation for Ramadan, alhamdulillah. And then I had the pleasure of spending time with you on the Sunday, which was the official launch of your book, The Moon is Sighted, in Lenasia, where I was the MC. And I was just so delighted to be in your company for 3 days in a row that I thought to myself that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you've blessed me with this amazing, beautiful soul in my life. And hence, you know, for me to be speaking to you on radio today is to remind our phenomenal listeners that are listening in that in our deen, there's no such thing as coincidence. Everyone you meet is there for a reason. They are there to either teach you or you are there to teach them. And ultimately, we learn from each other. And the other thing that inspires me so much about you, at 69 years old, you published a book. You go, girl. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. So,
and then and last year, I published my fourth book.
That's what we're going to be talking about now.
Yeah. The fourth book, which came after The Moon is Sighted. It was published last year, and I launched it in March 2021. But because of restrictions and social distancing, it was a very low-key launch. I launched it, first of all, at my home with my family. And then I launched it at a bookshop, Timbuktu Books. And then my friend launched another launch for me at somebody's place, a venue, outside venue. So I actually had 3 launches of this particular book. Yeah.
SubhanAllah. What is the book about? What is the title, Auntie Jasmine?
The book is called The Secret of the Prey. You know, it was inspired by the hadith of Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When he asked one of his, he was speaking to one of his companions, and they were standing at a tree, and he shook the branch of a tree, and the leaves came falling down. And Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that when you raise your hands, when you pick up your salis for your salah, then your sins fall from your shoulders as the leaves fall from the tree. So this inspired me, and I decided to write this book about it. And and the book has got a beautiful picture of a tree with the leaves falling down. So
when am I getting my autograph copy?
Yeah, well, you went.
When I come to you for Cook Sisters, when I come to Cape Town, right?
Yeah, that's true. You will have it, and then you can review it on the air if you like. So when you come to Cape Town, be sure to contact me, and I will give you a copy.
Definitely, my sweetheart. Please tell us a bit more about the book.
Well, you know, technically, I wrote the book. It was a much shorter version, and I showed it to one of the shuyukh here in Cape Town, Sheikh Saadullah Khan. And he suggested to me that I must broaden the scope of the book. I must do it almost like it's a textbook on the prayer. And so it has got everything in it: the movements, the benefit of the movements in Salah, the benefits of wudu, the significance of the waqt in which we make our Salah. It details the various, the farad, the sunnah, the nafil Salah. They've goes into quite deep detail with that. And then there is the what I call my voice in it, the latter chapters about what we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to be, making salah with the shoe and the benefits. And so I can't tell you too much because then you don't have to read the book.
Then you're giving everything away. And how would we be able to purchase this book, Auntie Jasmine?
Pardon?
How would we be able to get our hands on a copy of your book?
Well, they can contact me. The book is available for me. Unfortunately, it's only available in Cape Town. But if people can get together and want to purchase a book, then they can order. And I can send it down by courier. Pep Stores has got a very reasonable rate for
reliable. Yes.
I think they charge 60 Rand, which is practically nothing in today's world.
Definitely.
So if people are interested, then they can contact me, and I will send the books down to whoever wants to.
I think I just need to remind our listeners that your books are very, very reasonably priced and they're precious. I still have a copy of The Moon is Sighted, and I think what is so, so precious to me about that book is the beautiful message that you wrote to me inside. And you said, Baby Aisha, my dearest Baby Aisha, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of your du'as. May Allah grant you better than what you pray for. Never forget how amazing you are. And Baby Aisha, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chose you to make a difference. Go out there. Do you know that's what you wrote to me? And you also told me, I believe in you and you have a purpose and you are a role model for many people. That's what you wrote to me. I'm actually reading it out now as I'm talking to you. And lo and behold, subhanAllah, I have you on my show today. And I have to tell you, Auntie Jasmine, what you saw in me is a reflection of you. Because if you see goodness in other people, it's telling you goodness about yourself. And as women, sometimes our worst enemy, our biggest critic is ourselves. We put ourselves down. We don't think we're good enough. We want to compete with other women. We want to say bad about one person to another person to be in favor with that person. And we don't realize that at the end of the day, the only person that we are ruining is ourselves. And as women, we need to learn to clap for ourselves first. And when we are happy with who we are, in a sense where we're saying, Allah, you are pleased with us, inshallah, and you can see when Allah is pleased with you, when you have barakah in what you do, then you are able to share that happiness and goodness with other women, and you spread happiness wherever you go. You don't become an obstacle in people's lives. You don't carry tales. You are not bitter. You don't live in the past. Am I correct?
No, absolutely. What you're saying is what it comes down to is know your own worth. And I find that there is a lack of worth, a sense of self-worth in women. And I do a little bit of counseling. And most of the time, I also run workshops in the community. I actually run free workshops. I've been doing that since I had my 75th birthday. This is my contribution. It's a shukr to Allah for blessing me with everything that I've got. So I asked a question one day. I said, do you ever wonder what happened to you? And they looked at me very confused, They said, what is she talking about? But, you're born and you're somebody's daughter, and you become somebody's sister. You go to school, become somebody's friend. Eventually, you become somebody's employee. Then you become somebody's wife, somebody's mother. Eventually, if you live long enough, inshallah, you become somebody's grandmother. But where are you? Where are you? This is the question I ask, and we live our lives but in such an automotive mode that we never really consider ourselves. And I remember with my very first book, Experience of Flow, I said that if you're not in a good place yourself, if you don't take care of yourself, how can you possibly take care of somebody else? Because if you are not emotionally healthy and you try to help somebody else, then you do more damage than healing, because it's very dangerous. And I look at young people today, they're going in for psychology, and to go in to become a psychologist is not just like, it's not another stream of academia, You have to be in the correct space Because you're going to work with people's souls, with their psyche, with their emotions, and you have to be in a good place yourself. I remember listening to a talk by somebody who is doing this kind of counseling, and she broke down while she was talking to us, and everybody was oohing and ahhing, she's so good and she feels or whatnot. I said, no, she's not good, because if she can't handle her own emotions, it means she hasn't worked through it. How can she help you?
Absolutely. How can she help you? But I think the same thing would come, Marv, just to interrupt you there, that the thought that is coming is not just for a psychologist, which is very relevant. It's the same for a life coach, which seems to be the new trend now. Every Tom, Dick, Harry, and Sally wants to be a life coach. But the thing is, show me examples of how you have lifted up yourself in your own life. Because if you are struggling in your own life, how are you going to help me? The other thing is for teachers. I mean, people underestimate for teachers, whether it's in a masjid, whether it's in a school, whether it's in a, like I said, madrasa. If your cup is empty, how are you going to give? If you are a parent and your children are rowdy and your children are not clean and your children have no boundaries and have no manners, how are you going to discipline somebody else's child in a school?
Exactly. This is the thing. Talking about life coaching, everybody now, as you said, I said, every Khadija, Halima, and Habiba has now become a life coach.
Exactly.
But now I asked the question, what happened to the Quran and the Sunnah? Isn't that your life coach?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is that sometimes, yes, people go to a coach because they feel they need someone. Your life coach, and this I think is a very important thing for us to say, because Auntie Jasmine, you'll understand. If you go to a life coach, this person is basically getting paid to be your cheerleader. This person is helping you put things into perspective. This person is totally objective, because this person doesn't have an emotional attachment here. This person is helping you to reach your goals. But if you have a psychological problem, you need to go see a psychiatrist. You need counseling professionally. You go to a psychologist. Then you go to a life coach to say, okay, I got this in order. I got this in order now. I want this job, or I want this in my life. Now you help me. And I think people are juggling this. They're doing life coach first, then maybe psychologist and psychiatrist last. And they don't realize that every time wasted, you are this damaged person, so to speak, emotionally, and you're damaging everything you touch. So they need to know the order of how things need to be done. And also, I think, Auntie Jasmine, you can shed light on this, that when it comes to women especially, women have the superpower called women's intuition. We know things before you even open your mouth. You can come in there looking how this, pretending that you got a fancy car and fancy house and beautiful clothing and it. And subhanAllah to you if you have that. Alhamdulillah, enjoy what Allah has given you. But your energy introduces you before you speak. If you're going to hold worth to your assets and the things you own, you're actually a very poor person.
Yeah, no, definitely. I always say that your energy enters the room before you do.
Totally.
It precedes you. It precedes you. So,
absolutely.
And people don't take enough notice of the fact that we live in a field of energy. I mean, I always tell people, I said, you do realize we live in a field of energy, and they look at me like, what kind of fancy stuff is this? But we do live in a field of energy. The whole universe vibrates with the energy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So,
absolutely.
And where intuition is concerned, I always say that it's just the voice of your creator.
Totally. And women know, you got this gut. I must not share a quick joke with you.
It's not magic powers. You're not gifted. We all have it. We have either silenced it, or we have not been told that there is such a thing and we're not aware of it. But Allah speaks to us all the time. All the time.
It's that inner voice. It's that inner voice. I must just make you laugh, right? So yesterday, I actually saw something on a YouTube channel about women's intuition. And, my husband and I, what I love about us, that we have these debates. And they're very healthy debates. He gives me his viewpoint, I give him mine. And I told him, I gave him this example, right? I said, you're a man. Men just take things at face value. And this woman had a very amazing thing that she said about women's intuition, and I can resonate with it, you can. For me, when I'm talking to someone, I listen to what you say, but I listen to what you say maybe 30%. 70%, I'm looking at your non-verbal communication. I'm looking at your body language. I'm listening to the projection of your voice. I'm looking at how you're sitting. And more than anything, I watch more how you love your life rather than what you're saying. For me, it's walk your talk. And that's just always been the type of child I was, the type of teenager I was, the type of adult I am now. My father was like that. My late grandmother was like that. And subhanAllah, mashallah, she is buried in Makkah. She passed away while making Hajj. And a lot of people tell me you are a lot like your grandmother. That's the thing with me. I think that's the reason why I can do what I do. That's the reason why you can do what you do. It's the non-verbal things that you are not saying that is telling us so much about you.
Yeah, 100% true. Yeah? Absolutely.
Now, you need to tell us some more. Tell us a little bit more about, like when you write, right? When you write, your books are about deen, and they're about inspiration. And it talks about this intuition, like we say, which you say again, that it's not intuition. It's a gift from Allah. And by the way, while you are talking, I'm not giving you 30%. For you, I'm giving you 130%, I promise.
Okay, I feel honored.
That's my disclaimer.
I feel that I don't write the books. I feel that Allah writes the books. Because I become guided. Like I don't know when I sit down at the computer exactly what I'm going to write. So as I start, and I also have a problem with procrastination. Like I will put off going to sit at the computer. I've got everything ready, but once I sit, then I get totally lost because as if I'm entering another zone. So and by the way, people have this idea that to write a book is very easy. I can tell you, it's not easy. It's not easy. They say, oh, well, you sit all day and you just type. No, it's not that. It takes everything that you have. It takes your blood, sweat, and tears. It takes your soul. It takes your heart. It's a journey, and it's after my first book, so many people contacted me. I want to write. Please tell me how. And my guidance is this: if you want to write, then write. There's no how about it, Nobody teaches you. I know there are courses of writing, all the stuff, but that's formulaic writing. They tell you how much you introduce, then you must write the body, and then you must have the conclusion. I mean, I tried to do a course in writing many years ago. By the way, they were based in Port Elizabeth. And when I submitted my first assignment, they rejected it. They said to me that the start of the thing is too traumatic,
Oh, my word. Are they based in PE?
They were based in PE. I can't remember their name. This must be about 20, 30 years ago. And then eventually
they went to sort them out.
The very story that I wrote for the assignment was the story that won the first prize in the competition that I entered. And then I sent it to them and I told them, this is the first prize of the story. And can I have my money back? So they said they can't give my money back, but they can give me the entire course because the course came in modules. So they sent me the same course. But it was formulaic writing, telling you how you must write your introduction. And I mean, it works for certain people, especially if you want to write for profit. By the way, if you want to write, don't ever think you're going to get rich unless you are one of those Hollywood sex and sex scandal stuff that they write. That will certainly sell. But if you want to write from your heart what you feel, what you believe in. But my first book, Experience the Flow, has so far sold over 2,000 copies now.
Subhanallah.
But if you consider that it's only in Cape Town, my network, well, it's gone to Port Elizabeth, it went to Johannesburg, it went to Mafeking. It was even sold in Durban. Then I think even now I just had it reprinted and I've got one copy left. So,
Alhamdulillah. Unfortunately, we've come to this. Yes, but I love your Moon. The Moon is cited as well. The amazing book. But unfortunately, my beloved, we've come to the end of our interview. But before we go, in a quick message to the ladies that are listening in today, or to all our listeners, what would you like to say to them before we go?
Okay, I decided, I looked at your questions and I decided what I'm going to say. It's got nothing to do with writing. It's got to do with life. So, as we
you noticed that we didn't stick to any of my questions. I'm sure you noticed that, eh?
Yes, I did notice that. So we started the show with asking me how old I am. So last week, when it was my birthday, I told the ladies that I'm 18 years of age, but since we read from the right to the left, right? So I had a lot of friends who would never want to be called auntie and they would never divulge their age. This is like a thing, with women. And they don't realize that when you get to a certain age, the freedom that you have, because you are responsible firstly to your Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then you are responsible to yourself. And it is such an amazing feeling. Okay, so your body is not quite as agile as it used to be, but if you're blessed with an agile mind, as I am, alhamdulillah, rabbil alamin, shukr to Allah, the world is your oyster. For as long as you open your eyes in the morning and you breathe and you say, alhamdulillah, there you are, you can do something. So for the young people, don't be afraid of getting older. For the old people, don't sit and just think back of your heyday. You can do something. If you can take a class, you can read a book, you can do some research. There are so many things that you can do at the
Before you go, I just have to ask you this one question, because I'm an activist when it comes to women empowerment. When I talk about women empowerment, like I say, I'm not teaching people to be feminists. I'm reminding you that you are so much more than all those titles that you said, Auntie Jasmine. What is your view? Quick word of advice to women who still have this crazy impression that I must be completely financially dependent on my husband, because that is a must. I mean, Hazrat Khadija, really, I can go on and on with the list. I mean, for women that basically just rely completely on their husbands. I mean, this mindset needs to change. We need a growth mindset. What is your advice to them?
Well, I'm sure that you know what the advice is, and that is to
I know, but I still want you to say it.
You need to do something for yourself. And, this may not be very popular thing to say, but money really isn't everything, I mean, Allah provides. Rizq comes through people and not from people. Allah sends it through certain people and not from those people. So if you think that your husband is the one who's supporting you, he's not. Allah is facilitating for him to be able to give you what he gives. So 100%. You can seek other forms of rizq that comes via anything else but through your husband. And basically what it comes down to is to take autonomy of your life, that I know this is not very popular in Islam because, this whole thing about being subservient to your husband.
But it's not saying that you are not listening to him. It's just like I did another show last week. Yes.
There's no such thing as subservience in Islam. Women and women are created equal. There is equity, and we should stop looking for equality because we both created for different purposes, and we need to embrace that and live together in harmony. Remember, Allah says that we created you so that you may live together in harmony. But that word seems to be
used according to how we want our needs. definitely. But you and I need to do a whole other show, my darling. You and I need an hour, sweetheart. You and I need an hour. But unfortunately, I need to bid you farewell for now. But remember me in your du'as. Stay amazing, 81 young. I can't say 80. I can't even say the word properly. I can't even say 81 years old because you are so far from old. Remember, Auntie Jasmine, when I grow up, I want to be you. Please remember me in your du'as. Stay amazing. May Allah reward you in abundance for everything that you do. May Allah accept all of your du'as and keep making a difference wherever you go because you are truly loved. You are truly inspiring. And I love you for the pleasure of Allah and for my pleasure.
Ameen, Ya Rabbal Alamin. Fi amanillah, Bibi Aisha, Jazakallah khairun, and all the best. Whatever you ask for me, may Allah grant you to you double.
Ameen, Ameen, Ya Rabbal Alamin. Remember, I want to autograph copy. I'm coming to fetch it in Cape Town myself.
Inshallah.
Ameen. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Our beloved listeners, we're going to take a short ad break, and when we come back, we're going to be speaking to Salim Badat.
Live from Port Elizabeth, South Africa. To the world, this is IFM.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You are back onto the Phenomenal Woman Show with me, Bibi Aisha Lehe. And after having a very inspiring talk with Jasmine Khan, author from Cape Town, only 81 years old, we are now going to be speaking to Salim Badat, who is from KZN, and he calls himself a self-defense coach. So yes, our beloved listeners, sorry for the delay. We are just trying to get hold of Salim Badat. I think, with this load shedding, it's been just causing chaos for everybody, everywhere. And it's just becoming very, very annoying. But what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? So we're talking about self-defense. Self-defense in South Africa. It's actually so sad that we should be knowing about these skills. It's actually so sad that we should be thinking that when I go out, will I come back alive? Do I live in a place that is so crime-ridden that I'm going to actually need to learn skills to protect myself physically from harm? And you know what's a very scary thing? That most of the times when people are attacked, so to speak, or if people are in a state of danger, it really makes me sad when 9 out of 10 times these occurrences happen at home. It's from men that unfortunately, gender-based violence, domestic violence, domestic abuse. So what are we going to be teaching you today? No, we're not teaching you how to use a gun. We don't believe in violence. We lovers, not fighters. We're not going to be telling you about self-defense so you can go punch somebody out and let that person end up in hospital. But we're going to try and talk to you and teach you about some skills that you could use maybe to help you to gain some confidence, to be strong, and to give you enough time where you could maybe just empower the person that's trying to hurt you, just enough for you to run away and get help. We're not trying to tell you that now beat this person to a pulp because you're going to end up in jail. We're not teaching you all of that. Wa alaikum salam. Salim, I'm not going to even give you an intro. I gave you an intro already. I'm just assuming there must have been some self-defense emergency, or we probably having difficulty getting hold of you. So, Salim Badat, assalamu alaikum and welcome to Phenomenal Woman.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for having me.
It's only a pleasure. Now, what has motivated you to become a self-defense coach? Don't tell me about all the crime in South Africa, which is such an obvious answer, but there we go.
Well, sometimes the obvious is what it is, right? I mean, if you look at the stats and everything of what we experience, the best, I've been doing martial arts for the past 30, 35 years now. And as an instructor, as a teacher for the past 20 plus years. And one of the reasons why I became a full-time instructor was because of empowering men, women, and children. That has been my aim and my purpose, is to empower them and for them not to feel helpless. There's a feeling of despair amongst our community, amongst the people of South Africa, is that this is beyond my control. Sorry, and crime is out of proportion. And what do I do? So the idea is to bring hope to you and to teach you skills that can save your life.
Absolutely. And like I mentioned before we were waiting for you to come, that we're not going to be encouraging women to go beat someone to a pulp. I mean, that's also a criminal offense. It's basically to help you to sort of disempower the perpetrators long enough for you to get away and get help. Am I correct?
Absolutely. But I'm sure people understand we're not teaching anyone to beat anybody else. What we are doing is we're empowering you to be able to defend yourself. Because remember, this is also part and parcel of your deen, to be able to defend yourself. You know, it's part, and it's for a man, for a woman, and a child. So this is what I do. And I do different types of modules. I do different anti-hijacking, anti-rape. I do stranger danger with kids. So there's many modules and modules.
Now, I need to ask you something. When I say what areas of self-defense coaching do you offer, you did mention martial arts, right? So when you say martial arts, okay, that's there. Do you do like kickboxing? Do you do boxing? What else do you do?
Right. Okay, so now basically I do a system called Wing Chun, which is a close range fighting system. All right, this is a system Bruce Lee studied in Hong Kong, and I studied with Bruce Lee's teacher Ip Man, his children in Hong Kong, Ip Chun and Ip Ching. So that's very specialized stuff that I do. But for the general public, see, the specialized stuff is for people that want that type of speciality. For the general public, I teach you how to defend yourself standing, clinching, and grappling. So standing, we introduce boxing. My boxing comes from a man called Richard Bastillo, who was the Olympic coach for the American team and a private student of Bruce Lee. So I teach you how to strike with your hands. Then I teach you clinch range. Clinch is how to grapple and do a takedown. And then there's basic grappling I teach. But to add to that, what I teach is weaponry. I teach edged and impact weapons. So I teach you, and remember for a woman, Aisha, a woman generally...
No illegal guns, listeners. No illegal guns.
No illegal guns, of course.
But I just have to tell you something. Before you go to weaponry, you spoke about boxing, right? So just to let you know, and I just need to share this with you, right? So on Sunday, I did something that I wanted to do for a very, very, very long time. I went to one of the stores here, because I'm not obviously allowed to advertise, and I bought myself a boxing bag and punching gloves. No, I don't want to beat anyone else up. I don't. But if I need to come to you for skills, I'm coming to you first, Salim Badat. But the reason that I bought this is also to keep fit. And, recently I've been diagnosed with arthritis. And this is something that my rheumatologist in Lenasia told me, that for strengthening exercises, do strengthening exercises, and boxing comes, very recommended. But also, it's a skill. It keeps you fit. And, if I need to punch you, I'm going to do that. But no violence. We are lovers, not fighters.
The thing is, like with boxing, I teach group classes, martial arts, and then I do private classes as well. I show people want to do private. Then I do family private classes.
Okay, but listen, what I basically need to ask you, yes. I'm not really targeting on what you do per se. What I want to know from you for now is the importance of self-defense in South Africa. We're not really marketing. We're talking more about why should women learn this? Because in all honesty, let's be very, very honest, right? I'm sure the people that come to you, like me, mine is basically for medical reasons and I want to stay fit. Other people may be coming for a genuine reason that, yes, they were victims of domestic violence, which is something that happens. There are men that beat women up. There are even women that beat men up. There are children that are getting bullied. And also, let's be honest, we live in South Africa. We all know the crime rate here. There's hijacking, there's house break-ins. People are fed up. Men are feeling disempowered, that people are just walking into their house, violating their privacy and putting their lives in danger. So if you can just elaborate on that aspect for me.
Well, you've covered most of it. Your questions, you've covered already a lot of it.
But tell me this. When people come up to you, what do they tell you? What do women tell you when they come up to you?
Right. So with women, they come for various reasons, right? First is a lot of women come to stay fit. So a lot of them are tired of going to the gyms. A lot of women are tired and bored with the same routine in gyms, going to Virgin Active, whatever. So they get tired of that, and the boredom sets in. So a lot of them come to me and say, you know what, we need something different now. And with boxing, I teach kickboxing and boxing classes for women because they find it very invigorating. It keeps the heart pumping, and they lose weight and they feel good. And at the same time, they're learning a self-defense skill. So it's all of these things wrapped in one. A lot of them also come because this is their me time. Twice a week, I take care of my family, I take care of all, but I need to spend some time on myself. So this is when they come to this and they work it out. And also there's a camaraderie that they develop amongst the women. So they network. And so it's multifaceted regarding the reasons why they come to me.
Definitely.
So these are all the different
Definitely.
reasons that they would come to me.
That was the answer I was looking for. Now I need to ask you something very important for our sisters that are in Parda. What happens there?
Right.
Because I know you're based in KZN, so we're talking about your KZN clientele for now. What happens when a sister is in Parda?
So my daughter is a self-defense instructor. So sometimes she would take a class for these women. Sometimes when I'm traveling, then I would take her with me. Right? So I would be teaching them. She would be supervising. So depending on the material that we're covering. So she would be supervising. I'll be in the front teaching, and she'll be supervising. And so there's a lot of women who don't have an issue with me being in the front, and teaching. And, my daughter would be supervising. A lot of women might have an issue with that. So then my daughter would be taking that. So it depends. It depends on that type of...
So you do cater for that. Okay, now
yeah,
like I said, you are based in KZN. So
Yes.
I believe you're doing a seminar in Greenside in Johannesburg soon. Could you just tell us a little bit about that for our listeners in that part of South Africa?
Okay. So this will be the first, inshallah, of many different seminars in Johannesburg. Okay. So this one has been rescheduled for the 16th, all right, for the 16th. It's on a Sunday, and it's a blade workshop. It's an impact weapons workshop. So you'd learn, for a woman, as I was saying earlier, Aisha, with a woman, you need an equalizer. Most women are not as physically strong as a man. So how do you equalize it? You put a weapon in their hand. And the weapon can either be a firearm, which I'm not teaching, but it can be a stick, an impact weapon to hit and escape, or a blade. Okay. So this is very appropriate for them also to learn. So this is on the 16th in Greenside, inshallah.
16th of October, am I correct?
Yes, 16th of October.
Okay. So now for our listeners that are around the country, those that are not in KZN and those that are not in Johannesburg, how would they benefit from what you offer?
Well, they can connect with me, via my website. Can I give my website on the line?
Yeah, you may.
So it's combatives.co.za, combatives, right? And my name is Salim Badat, Salim Badat. And you can form a small group or get a small group, connect with me, host me. So the idea is we don't want to complicate things. It's very simple. I make it easy for people to host me if they wish. And that's basically what it is.
That's basically what you come into.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that you do children as well. So sometimes you get like a family that comes to you. So it could be like a father, mother, and their children. And maybe, just for example, maybe do they do martial arts together or they do boxing together? Yeah?
Yes. And I see what it actually does for them because this is the feedback I get from them. The feedback is, Salim, my son, he's so into the social media. His head is always in the phone. When we're eating, he's not listening to us. He's so occupied. But the only time we have his attention is when he's with us in this group. So in this little group that you have once a week, the child is communicating with us. And our relationship is now developing. And this, so there's many benefits where families
Very cool. So it's not just about learning to defend yourself. Like you said, it's family bonding time. It's communication time. It's something special that a family is doing. I mean, right now, school holidays is like, it's on the eve of school holidays. Sure. Tomorrow schools are closing. Sure. So here's a great idea, Salim. I would think so that a family can come to you and do an activity together. So they're getting fit.
Absolutely.
They're bonding. They're having fun. They learned a new skill. Yeah. And then they're learning how to defend themselves. I mean, all of that
Absolutely.
in just one activity.
Absolutely.
There's so much of benefit to it.
Sure, because they're sharing the same experiences, and that's what, even a husband and wife, just together, they would join and they would share between themselves. They would share the skill sets and they would grow together
I think you probably just said them don't punch each other, right? Because I think like if a husband and wife are very upset with each other, you're like, no, separate lessons for you. So then you're going to be dealing with paramedics also.
Absolutely, we'll have them outside. But what gives me the greatest pleasure, what gives me, is when I see people empowered. So if you can't reach me, that doesn't matter. Wherever you are, see which martial arts schools are around you. Join those schools. Because at the end of the day, only good is going to come out of it. What I mean by this is you empower yourself. And that's me as a coach. That is my reward. When I see a child that comes to me and the parents say, my child has low self-esteem. And when I see the child, I can see the body language. He's not even looking at me in the eye. He doesn't look at the others in the... But then they notice that after a few months, the child is transformed. The teachers are reporting, I see that the child is more assertive. So it's true. I use the physicality as a vehicle, the martial arts or the physicality as a vehicle to empower men, women, and children. So I work outside in. That's what I do.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic. What would be your message to ladies that are listening in? What would you like to say to them?
Okay, my first message would be, if you're looking at a self-protection game plan, is awareness. Ladies, be aware of your surroundings. Use common sense. Your greatest weapon is between your ears, your brains. Use common sense. Lock your doors. Keep your doors locked when you're driving. Don't leave your purse or your bag next to you. Don't go into areas where you feel you are not comfortable and not safe. Don't be afraid to be rude to someone and say, go away. No, doesn't matter. Be rude, but save your life. Don't be polite for the sake of being polite, and that gets you into trouble. So ladies, your biggest self-defense. A guy called Jeff Cooper during the Second World War developed the color coding system. White color, the orange color, red. So I cover all of the soft skills when I do a seminar. So you guys so if you wish, so I'll cover all of that. But basically what Jeff Cooper is saying, awareness is your bedrock for self-defense. If you are aware, 99% of the time, you will avoid being attacked. You will avoid being, so it's just having common sense. And do not be afraid and do not be embarrassed. You'd rather be embarrassed for the 2 seconds or 3 seconds by being rude and moving away than regretting it for the rest of your life to say no, whatever it is you're uncomfortable with. That is my advice to you.
Absolutely. And for the children that are listening in today, because, they think martial arts and they think, I'm going to be learning weaponry. Or all the kids are not going to be doing weaponry, but, they learn this and they're like, there's this bully at school that hits me and I'm going to give it to him. Is that the attitude that children should be having?
Okay, so no, that's not... Well, what I teach is...
To a point, let's be honest.
No, I don't mix words. I'm not here to sound, to say things that are politically correct. I don't. I'm a self-defense instructor. I teach you how to fight if you need to learn how to fight. I never teach you how to be a bully. I teach you how to protect yourself so that you can protect others. I teach you how to protect yourself so you protect your own integrity and the integrity of others from people that are bullying you. So that's what I teach. But the thing is, there's always steps to take. The first step is your teacher. Go to your teacher. Report this to your teacher. If the teacher is not doing anything, call the parents in. Have a meeting with the principal. These are all steps that you first take before anything else. So there's procedures. Unfortunately, a lot of teachers, I'm not saying all, but a lot of them don't take this seriously. Schools don't take this seriously. They call it bully-free, but really they don't take it seriously. They don't take bullying seriously. Parents should intervene before the child reacts. So at least you have recourse. You can say, look here, my child has already come to you. I have come to you. Now my child has defended himself. Now there's absolutely no issue because you've got to do all these steps first. Yeah. And for parents, Aisha, parents, please be mindful of what your children are reading and watching. Either on TV. Be mindful. Pollution is the first. Pollution of the mind is the first step towards decadence. Unfortunately, be careful and be mindful of what your children are reading and watching. Very important.
Definitely.
Don't give them that cell phone as an escape because to get off your back. Be mindful of what they're watching and reading. That's my advice to the parents.
Absolutely. May Allah reward you in abundance for educating, empowering, motivating, and inspiring everyone who has the pleasure of working with you and getting to know you. I wish you all of the best for the seminar that you're going to be doing in Johannesburg, and hopefully we're praying that, inshallah, we can have you in Port Elizabeth soon. And, for what you're doing for empowering people, may Allah reward you for sharing your gift with other people, and may you be blessed with continued success. So please remember us in your du'as as well, inshallah.
Ameen. Thank you so much for having me. And I want to take
videos and I want to send you about what I'm doing wrong with my punching bag, so you can send me videos back about how I should be doing that correctly.
Hey, we can make the other thing is a good point you made. I also do Zoom classes and online classes now because the world has changed.
Brilliant.
Yes,
and when I got those killer arms in December, I'm going to phone you, okay?
Inshallah. So this
Inshallah.
is also for the listeners. Right. Jazakallah.
Jazakallah khairan. To our beloved listeners, an inspiring really, really empowering afternoon. Jasmine Khan, 81-year-old author, telling us about how we can feed our soul and our mind. Salim Badat, reminding us of taking your power back, getting physical, doing things with families. Families going for self-defense classes on their, together, spending quality time. Wow, I'm so excited. So, inshallah, looking forward to speaking to you all again next week. On behalf of myself and my sound engineer, Hamid, and the family at IFM, we wish you a beautiful week ahead. Please remember us in your du'as, and you are always in our du'as as well. Until we speak again, it's Bibi Aisha Lehe. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.